So the version that I first heard of this song was Foreverly with Nora Jones and Billy Joe Armstrong, and fell in love with that version. I just think that duo was amazing. But going into that, I think that I wanted to do just that version right away. That was the version, and
Hmm.
I think I brought that to you originally,
Yeah, it was the first one.
and I said, let's do it. Let's start there.
Hmm. And that's what we
Yeah.
began learning, right? We kind of started learning their version of the Johnny Cash song, almost beat for beat, with the harmonies and everything. And then it started to change.
Yes.
And
Then I think as the night went on, as we were practicing that, we were falling into that. We were
mhm.
getting finally getting that version and becoming comfortable with
Oh
that
yeah,
version.
yeah, we could have just done it right then and
Right.
there, and it would have
So
been a day.
then it was flowing. That was flowing. I'm trying
You
to remember.
started messing around on that guitar, and
Well, that
you
was the thing.
just
And so
fell
once I
into.
become comfortable, I just now start to mess around with the guitar.
Hmm.
It's just something that it's just me.
Hmm.
And I think the first thing that we did was the timing.
Yep.
The first thing we changed was the timing, and it was that groove that we started to get into that groove.
Hmm.
The second thing I believe, then we changed it all to minors.
Yeah, you're like, well, what if it was all minor?
And you're like, oh, and you loved it right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, good. So I'm not completely nuts.
Hmm. Well, just a
Well,
little.
well, at least somebody else enjoys
Right.
my insanity.
So I was the enabler,
Yes,
and then there was like this bass line that showed up, I think, and then we
that was
started with
you.
that.
That was you. That
And
was
then
perfect.
I think originally I had this idea of adding another Johnny Cash song. So a piece that I had done with like a choral group was On the Far Side Banks of Jordan. And it's this really weird, hopeful, sort of sweet but sad song about meeting somebody in the afterlife after, they've died before you or you've died before them. And I was like, well, Johnny Cash and Johnny Cash, this should work out okay. But it just kind of wasn't sticking. And I thought maybe we need to go in the total opposite direction. What that ended up being for me was another weirdly minor coded piece from Cole Porter. My Heart Belongs to Daddy, and there are tons of different musicians who have done versions of this. I think even like Ella Fitzgerald did her own version, but it's classically
Hmm.
a sort of sweet song about loving your dad, but it's totally minor and creepy, and it just fits so well over this new minor
I
version
was
of what you
sold right
came up
away.
with.
I was
Yeah.
sold right away. And then the placement of them to how we were going to time it. And we're like
Hmm.
where we were putting what verses, if
Right.
any, like how many verses of each song or where it was going to go.
Hmm.
And then it kind of just took the format that we have now.
So I also really liked Foreverly. And one of the interesting things about that duo is how unexpected that combo is. The guy from Green Day and the Come Away With Me girl, right? Making something that works so well together. So I do think that that was a really good example of a duo that we modeled the concept after the idea of contrast. But you also brought up a duo that I hadn't heard of before.
Yes, Larkin Poe. Larkin Poe, the thing that I took from them was not only just the sound of like just them making something from sitting in a setting like this, or sitting in their bedroom. They started in their bedroom. I think we just discussed today. They did one in their bathroom, and I think they did it also for the sound. And I just loved the way that it was just the two of them together and their instruments.
Mhm.
Who's who's your daddy and what does he do?
That was good. Well,
All right.
let me do the easier part of that question then, I guess. what does my dad do? Because I think the
Who's your daddy?
who's your daddy is a totally different question. But let's focus on some of the things that he does that are really cool. So his work is in technology and computers and software and all that stuff. But I think in terms of his hobbies and his real callings, he does things like woodworking. So he'll make things like pens, you know.
I got one.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That one's so pretty. I also use one of his pens when I'm writing songs sometimes. So, you know, it lives on, I think, in other forms of art that way. He also was like an artist in his college days, so I still have some remnants of a particularly creepy mask that stayed in my bedroom and gave me nightmares for years. I don't have it with me now. Maybe that's why I sleep well at night. I think when the question comes to like, who is your dad? I'm so glad that I have a dad who's like still my friend into my adult years. Sometimes he asks me for advice, which is really, really intimidating because I just need to know from him what it is that I should do. So at least we're kind of reciprocal in that way. I also think one of the cool things about my dad, and you can attest to this, is he loves showing up to live music that I do or that maybe we do together. And it's really sweet to have somebody who is there for you for every show, even the ones that you feel like you're bombing. So when we did this song particularly, I was excited to do it first because I feel like a lot of the messages about wishing you could make it up to your dad, wishing you could kind of reciprocate, you know, years of heartache or years of giving, and you know you never could, but this song made me think of my dad in that way. So.
My father's an artist, visual arts. He's a realist, which is rare today, being that everything is very abstract. And so in this world, he finds his strength in the realism and strong pieces of realism. And he's unbelievable at it. And I've always looked up to him in that way of just always seeing his art around me. I grew up all with his art. He was an illustrator for many years, and being around that art, as I said, that was always inspiring, as in the sense of to go after your passion. So that's where I grabbed that with a different medium of art, is my music. And even though he wasn't musical as far as being able to produce it, he loved to listen to it. His variety of musical interest is vast, and that resonated with me because I have all his records. And having all those records, I just was in a candy store, and I was able to hear so many different genres from different time periods. I was able to pull from all of that in my case. And so I've always owed it back to him. So in this song, that's what I felt towards him. Besides, I've always been his boo, and that's where my name comes from. And so growing up, you know, and being the bestest of friends, it was now through this song, now I feel that connection as well.
Mm-hmm. So when we were kind of agonizing over some of the language, you know, with all the social media platforms and how we would describe what we were doing before we started doing it publicly, one of the phrases that snuck its way in there was a real music project. And I think that means a couple of things to us. We notice that some of the artists who are making music on YouTube, as great as they are, there's like a little bit of a dirty little secret. What you're seeing in the video is not exactly what you're hearing. You know, it might be really gorgeous, but you're like looking closer and realizing, where are all the cables? Where are the microphones? And I think when you put two and two together, you realize that some of these really produced videos, as beautiful and as flawless as they are not what you would hear and not what you would see, perhaps, if those people, that band, that soloist, that duo was going to do it right in front of you in that moment. So we kind of had this idea of challenging ourselves and making something that we could do exactly the same way it looks, exactly the same way that it sounds in public at any moment, because that's kind of how we got our start. We began playing out a couple times almost as an unnamed duo informally.
Yeah.
And so we're way more accustomed to doing things the organic way, the way that, you don't get another shot. You don't get to, do multi track and make sure that each little layer is perfect.
I referenced this, I think, in one of the previous questions. One of the bands that I was interested in, Larkin Poe. Well, now, obviously, you see they have quite a production. But if you go back to when they just started, their early videos were very real and just them with their simple instruments, them wherever setting they were, and it sounded so good and so true. And to me, something about that speaks volumes. It really shows the artist.
Yeah.
Really shows the artist and what they are. And nothing against producers and the recording aspect. That's a whole other art.
Right.
But that is an art. And I think that this shows this art, the actual live, true, real performance. I don't think fish smile, but I think they always look shocked.
I think they smile when.
I'm sorry.
No.
Oh my God.
No, this is staying in.
Oh my God.
I think they smile when they dream. And that's all.
Thank you for joining us.
This was Trash Talk. See
you
next Tuesday. We love you. Bye.
Oh my God, that was great.